Hello, guys. It's a beautiful day and a wonderful day as well. It's another day on Hidden Secrets in Books. As you guys know, I only bring top guests to my show. Most of them, and a good number of them, are authors as well. We are here to discover some hidden secrets, some wisdom that you are not going to find anywhere else except in a book. So today's guest is a retired registered nurse, brain tumor surgery survivor, an author of Whose Life Changed Forever in January 2004. Jennifer White, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much. So we are here to talk about your book. Take us back to January January 2024. What happened and how did that experience change your life?
Well, in January of 2024, I actually had brain surgery to remove a tumor that was going to kill me. And, with brain tumors, real estate is everything. And mine was in a particularly bad spot, and they had to go digging for it, which meant they moved my brain around and, they exposed it to the air and they had to manipulate it a bit. And while they were in there getting the tumor out, it caused some changes in me. So when I woke up after I had a coma, I realized that there were some changes. First, I had to relearn how to speak, how to walk. I didn't recognize my husband at the end of the bed. And to top it off, I was tied to the bed because I became quite combative. So, where that started the journey of writing is that while my speech therapist was working with me to try and get my speech back, he suggested that I try writing some words down. And once I realized that the words that I were writing on paper were correct, were the words that I wanted to say, and were spelled correctly, I could then communicate with people since I couldn't speak yet. By writing, it helped rewire my brain. And as my brain was learning new things and being challenged to write, it allowed me to heal. And so that's where it all started happening.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. So after waking up from a coma, what was it like having to relearn how to walk, think, and speak?
Well, it was tough. We prioritized in that we decided walking was the first priority because, from a health perspective, that got me up, got me moving, got my blood moving, and didn't put me at risk for getting blood clots and that kind of thing. So it took a good month or so to get to the point where I could walk without using a walker and without help. My balance was off quite a bit, so I used to fall over. So I'd be able to stand eventually on my own, but then I'd fall over because my balance wasn't right. So that was priority number one. Then speech was priority number two because I knew that I was thinking properly. I just couldn't express it. And so we spent about 3 months working on my speech. And as you can tell, it's obviously back and doing fine. But I do still have days where my speech is difficult and I sometimes reverse words or put them in the wrong order or that kind of thing. After that, realizing that you have to relearn how to do things like that, it's really quite daunting. We take it for granted. And when something like that happens and it's taken away from you, it's really quite shocking and frustrating. And, I had to just keep going and keep trying and keep working at it in order for me to heal. But it was a challenge, I have to tell you.
Right, thank you so much. So, as both a retired nurse and a patient, how has your perspective on healthcare changed?
Well, that's an interesting question. Um, I think as a nurse, there are challenges in healthcare that have continued on to this day, and there will be new ones as we go forward. Um, when you're working in healthcare, you kind of go with the challenges and you find ways to work around them. When you're a patient, you're very vulnerable, and you hope that the people who are looking after you and doing surgery on your head and your brain, you hope that they're having a good day and you hope that they're well rested and that they're, at the top of their game. Sometimes things happen and, it's sometimes beyond people's control, but there are lots of things that happen in healthcare that are within people's control. Things like exhausted staff working overtime, things like budgets not being big enough to have the necessary equipment that you need, um, things like that. So, as a patient, I was conscious of what was happening around me. I saw, the nurses working extra long hours. I saw some of the struggles that they had. And I felt for them, but as a patient, there really wasn't anything I could do for them. But it did highlight some of the challenges and gave you a different perspective on what was happening.
Okay, so how have you incorporated your personal experiences into your medical trailers and children's book?
Well, what I really did was I started at the very beginning writing children's books just because I was daydreaming and I was thinking about stories in my head. And when I was well enough, I wrote them down. But I just sort of allowed myself to dream like a little kid would dream. And that helped kind of rewire my brain and use my imagination to keep my brain working. And when you keep stimulating your brain by doing things like learning or doing a specific task, it helps in the brain to find other pathways around any damaged tissue. So when I went into writing the novels, the medical thrillers, um, what I did was I went online first and I learned some new things because I had never written a novel before and I wanted to do it right. And so I found some online courses that I could take that were self paced, that I could work around my fatigue and my rehab schedule. And I learned sort of the bones of writing a novel. And that includes processes and it includes sort of the craft of writing. So once my brain was triggered to learn new things, one of the first lessons they told you was, write about something you know. Well, I knew two things. One was that I had been a nurse for 33 years and more. And I had lots of material in my experiences that I could write about. And secondly, that I now knew what it was like to be a brain damaged patient trying to reinvent themselves. So, what I did with my first book called The Triggering Scent is I created a character by the name of Abby Roberts, and she's a registered nurse. And she was working in an environment that I used to really enjoy working in, which was a trauma ICU environment in a hospital. And I gave her some of the challenges that I had. I gave her a brain tumor. I gave her brain surgery. I had her outcome of her surgery a little more dramatic than mine. And I put her back to work after about a year of recovery, back into an ICU. And I gave her some of the challenges I was having. Things like doubt about whether I was okay, doubt about my own memories, challenges like, the marriage being different, challenges like forgetting words or not being able to speak clearly, and those kinds of things. So I gave my character those characteristics, and I kind of healed by putting those characteristics onto the character and having her act it out in the book. So it was kind of a healing journey for me.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer. So, what has kept you moving forward on the days when recovery felt overwhelming?
Well, there are days when, you don't feel like doing much. And I think you have to give yourself grace that, I'm still healing and, other people might be healing. And you just have to allow yourself that time to relax, to rest, and to rejuvenate. But one of the things that I learned as a nurse that I think is important is that some people give up when they're faced with challenges and they just kind of go down a rabbit hole into the dark abyss and they never really recover. And then there are other people who I worked with who, despite the worst challenges, were ready for the fight, and they never stopped trying, and they never gave up, and they generally did much better. So what I did was I took that knowledge when I knew I was going to have brain surgery that could kill me, that if I managed to survive the surgery, then I knew that I was going to do everything within my power to keep going. Now, having said that, I'm a spiritual person and I believe I'm a spirit having a human experience. And so I have a belief system that allowed me to ask the universe for help, or my God, for lack of a better word. We all have our own belief systems and we all have our own things that we rely on to help us. But I relied on my God to help get me through. And so I just asked for help and I created a dream. And I sort of created with the end in mind, meaning I decided I wanted to become a best-selling author of medical thrillers. So to do that, first thing I had to do was to learn how to write, and then I had to write and then learn through that process. So I'm currently working on book 3 of a series. And my character, Abby, who is essentially me in so many ways, she is, discovering things as she works in different environments. And one of the things that I'm trying to do through the books is not just entertain, but to raise questions about, oh my goodness, could that happen? Could that happen to me? And what would I do? And how can we fix the systems that are broken? And how can we improve looking after people in various ways? So that's kind of my goal for the future.
All right. Thank you so much. So, what advice would you give to someone facing a major health crisis or trying to rebuild their life after trauma?
Well, I think people need to understand that they have the power to make the change. That, you have to have a positive mindset, that you have to be able to put one foot in front of the other and be resilient. You have to have days when you just need to rest, and you need to have days where you push through the hard days. And, if you have a positive mindset, opportunities will abound. And you'll find that there's ways that you can continue to grow as a human being and give back.
Okay, so looking back on everything you have overcome, what message do you hope readers and listeners take away from your story?
I hope they hear the word hope, that regardless of any situation that you're in, you are in control, even though you may not feel like you're in control. So you have to look at life as a set of circumstances. And if you're challenged with something or you feel stuck, look at it as a temporary occurrence. Look at it as something that you have the power to change. And it's okay to ask for help, be it with your family, your friends, your spiritual self, whoever or whatever. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of transition. It's a sign of growing. And I want people to know that they can do this. I mean, if I can go from being in a coma, having to relearn how to walk, talk, and speak, then they should be able to do anything they want to do.
Okay, so Jennifer, is there a question you wish I would have asked you that I have not asked you?
No, I would love for people to have an opportunity to read the books if they can. I do have a website at www.jennywhite.ca, and you can go on there and you can see the books and read my story and learn about me. One of the things that I'm doing, other than just writing, is that I'm doing public speaking like this, not just on podcasts and TV, but actually in front of groups of people. And the idea is to share my journey and share the steps that I took to reinvent myself, basically. And again, just sharing the experience shares hope, shares a positive journey. And I just hope that people enjoy the books and understand that, healthcare has some issues. And if you're faced with a healthcare issue, that you need to be your own advocate, you need to ask lots of questions, and you just to recover, you just never can give up. You just have to have that positive mindset and just keep going.
All right, thank you very much, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing your remarkable journey with us. Your story is a powerful reminder that even after life's darkest moments, purpose, hope, and new beginnings are still possible. We appreciate your honesty, your resilience, and the inspiration you continue to offer through your writing and your willingness to help others never give up. It has been an honor having you on the show. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
You're very welcome. Have a great day.
And to all my audience, thank you so much. You guys are the real MVP. You guys are the reason why we are always here doing this. Make sure to connect with Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer, I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, how can the audience connect with you and learn more about your work?
Well, the website, www.jennywhite.ca.
Okay, thank you so much. You guys make sure to connect with Jennifer. Check out our book as well. Okay, so do have a wonderful day ahead. Bye, Jennifer.
Bye. Thanks again.
Okay, so